What do the Jews do in Jerusalem? Hi, my name is Rabbi Shmuel Kopel. In case you haven't known, I actually live in Israel in a northern city of Tzfat, about 2.5, 3 hours drive from Jerusalem. Every once in a while, I go and visit. Today, I am going to bring to you something special that I don't usually do, but I am going to bring you a original video of my trip in Jerusalem. Before we get to that video, just a few important facts. Number one, if you appreciate this video, if you appreciate what I do, please show your appreciation by clicking the subscribe button right there below and the bell that appears after you click it. This way you will be informed every time I upload a new video. Sharing is caring. So if you appreciate this video, please hit the share button and share it on all your social media sites. Now, if you really like what I do, please consider becoming one of our Patreons. Click the link in the description to Patreon and consider being a partner together with us and helping us make better quality videos and getting the message out to more people. Without further ado, we're going to go straight to Jerusalem and see the various different sites, see how they are treated from the Jewish perspective. And today's video is actually specifically on the Jewish element of Jerusalem. I do want to forewarn you that I'm about to share, depending on how long it takes me to edit the video, it might take a day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe even a week. I have to see, depending on my schedule. I have another video where I want to show you the general interaction between Jews and Arabs in Jerusalem. There will be a lot of eye-opening clips that you may not have thought were possible, but you will see that in the next video. So if you subscribe, you'll be notified next time I upload a new video, and you can go see the other video as well. Again, this video is mainly focused on the Jewish connection to Jerusalem. Here we go. The first thing to know about Jerusalem is that there is the ancient city of Jerusalem and the modern city of Jerusalem. The modern city of Jerusalem is much larger than the ancient city of biblical times, which is actually surrounded, as you can see, it's totally surrounded by this, I would say, 3-story high stone wall. Okay, this stone wall is not from the biblical times. It's actually from the 16th century, and approximately 1535, 1538. These walls were built by a king called Suleiman the Great, who wanted to beautify Jerusalem, so he built these walls around the city. As you can see, it's a pretty big undertaking without cranes, without tractors, without anything. You could begin to see like this gate area. This gate area essentially is called Jaffa Gate, because in the ancient city of Jerusalem, obviously the whole place is surrounded by walls, and there are various entrances throughout the in the wall itself. There's various different gateways. We're going through the Jaffa Gate right now. I'm not going to go into the other gates. You can look that up yourself. Now, within the ancient area of Jerusalem, it's actually split into 4 quarters. There's the Arab quarter, the Muslim quarter, the Jewish quarter, the Armenian quarter, and the Christian quarter. These are areas that generally represent different cultures that lived in the past in Jerusalem and are actually currently there as well. Okay, when you're walking through the old city to get to the main attraction, which is the Kotel, the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, Temple Mount, and if you ever heard of any of those, as you're walking there, you can walk through any of these quarters. There's a simple way to walk through the Arab quarter, but let's look through the Jewish quarter, because today's video is going to be focused mostly on the Jewish quarter. When you go through the Jewish quarter, I would say the largest thing that you're going to come to is the Churva synagogue and what many people call the Rova. The Rova is, which means the quarter, which is the Rova, the Jewish quarter of the city. Now, this big square that you're going to reach is always bustling, even into the late night. As a matter of fact, when we're taking this particular video, it's about 11 o'clock at night, and you can still see that there's a lot of action going around there. Now, if you walk through this square, one of the things you see is that golden menorah, that golden candelabra, which is, according to many opinions, that is the exact replica of what was in the temple. It was donated a while ago. A lot of that is real gold. I don't think it's solid gold. I believe that it was plated, but it is a pretty expensive piece of art that is on display in that area of Jerusalem. As you can see, here is the Churva synagogue, this big, beautiful synagogue that you see. This synagogue was actually built and destroyed 2 times, and it was rebuilt for the 3rd time very recently by the state of Israel. This ancient synagogue goes back many, many years. It's a beautiful, magnificent structure. As you can see, that blue in the background is just a light. It's actually a blue light that they make the synagogue look beautiful at night. And I would definitely suggest it's a nice place to come see the synagogue, and even inside the synagogue, many people come to see the synagogue. Now, of course, when you speak about Jewish Jerusalem's main attraction is the Western Wall. Okay, so before we get to the Western Wall, I want to take you to a room within the Western Wall. So we're kind of going to jump. We're going to go from, instead of walking towards the Western Wall, I want to kind of jump to a structure inside the Western Wall. And from there, we're going to see the rest of the Western Wall. So I want to bring your attention to this beautiful room inside the temple, inside the Western Wall Plaza. This room that you can see is actually a room of Torah scrolls, okay, handwritten scrolls of the Bible. I would say specifically the Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses, which Jewish people write by hand till today in the same ancient Hebrew handwriting. And we write it by hand, and there's many rituals where we use these particular scrolls, specifically Monday, Thursday, Sabbath, as well as holidays. We read from these Torah scrolls. Of course, they're inside. We can't really open up these compartments, but these scrolls themselves, inside these compartments, are these Torah scrolls. There's approximately 120 Torah scrolls in this room. And it's a very, very holy place, being that it has so many Torah scrolls in it and surrounding it. Many people choose to learn in this room, study Torah concepts, study Judaism in this room, and of course right outside this room, as we see right here. Okay, now the area you see now, if you were to go to the Kotel, you'll see on the side there's this entranceway where you go in to kind of this area within the Kotel Plaza. This is also an extension of the Kotel. It is part of the Kotel as well. It just goes a little further. Now, if you look at these beautiful arches on the top, you see these beautiful, massive arches. Throughout the years, different people built it. But I want to take your attention specifically to one big arch where you see these massive stones there. Now, as you can see, these stones are extremely heavy. If you ever try to lift a stone, you can imagine how big and heavy these stones are. In the time, in ancient times, they liked building with much smaller stones, as you saw the wall to the old city, and you will see in many places much smaller stones. There was one particular architect that built the Kotel, okay, and he built it specifically using massive stones. And as a matter of fact, the ones that we see in the Kotel are some of the smaller ones. Much of the Kotel is buried underground. Okay, now if you go to the lower ones, the lower parts of the Kotel, you will see even larger stones than you see here. He just putting these massive stones together in order to build this wall. Herod was actually a Roman governor of the area of Israel, and he liked building this way with massive stones and also in perfect squarish type of and rectangle structures instead of like messy stones like you see in other places. Of course, this area is still used a lot as a very big bustling hub of action. Again, we're filming this in the middle of the night, and look at what's going on here. There's various different prayers, Jewish prayers, as we're going to show you, a few small Jewish prayers. You have this particular group is a more a Middle Eastern tradition, where they're singing a more Middle Eastern tradition, Jewish Middle Eastern tradition of prayer. Now, as we walk out of the Kotel Plaza and we start going into the greater area, you'll see the boys dancing that we showed before, and we'll show it again. This is actually a very normal thing. Okay, the Kotel is almost like a beating heart for the Jewish people. As a matter of fact, Jerusalem was compared to the heart of the Jewish people. Temple Mount, as a matter of fact, was not even the highest mountain in the area. It's a little lower than some of the surrounding mountains, and tradition is told that it was actually built lower than the other mountains to show that it's not like the head, it's the heart. The heart is inside the body. So the Jerusalem is like the pounding heart of the Jewish nation. This dance is it's not part of a holiday. It's not part of anything extra normal. It's just a dance because they reached there. You know, this group of youth, they came to this particular area and they're like, wow, we're here. And they're dancing and celebrating. And this is very normal. If you would go there to the Kotel at any time in the day, even at night, you will probably see something similar to this dancing. Another popular thing that takes place a lot at the Kotel is a bar mitzvah. A bar mitzvah is a celebration when a child turns 13. According to Jewish tradition, when a boy turns 13, they become a man, and they become responsible for their own deeds. And they have a bit of a party where they read from the Torah, from the scrolls that we mentioned before. It's actually quite a party, as we're going to see here. A bit of singing and dancing, celebrating the young boys becoming of age. Now, the Kotel itself, the Western Wall, is the Western Wall of Temple Mount. It is not part, it was never part of the actual temple. It was a wall that surrounded the temple. So there was the temple building, and then a wall that surrounded the Temple Mount. This is the wall that surrounded the Temple Mount. There are also the other walls as well. The reason why this particular wall is celebrated in Judaism more than any other area is because it is the wall that is closest to the Holy of Holies. So if you're familiar with Jewish history and the temple history, there was a certain area called the Holy of Holies, and it was closest to this particular wall. And throughout the generations, the Jewish people always flocked to this place because it was the only place that they were allowed to go. So many of the previous occupiers of Jerusalem, they would only allow Jews to pray at the Western Wall, and they would not let them go onto Temple Mount. Interestingly enough, with the current hostilities in the area, trying to maintain a peaceful status quo, till today, Jews are not allowed to pray. Yes, I repeat, we are forbidden to pray on Temple Mount. They do allow Jewish people to tour Temple Mount, so you can go on a tour where they'll walk you through. However, if you dare utter words of prayer, you can actually be arrested, which is horrible. I know that, in the Western world, I mean, how could you be arrested just for kind of speaking a prayer, even quietly? If they see you whispering and they don't know what you're doing, they may arrest you and charge you with daring to break the peace by praying on the Temple Mount. So the closest people could actually pray and express their Judaism is the Western Wall. That's why that is that. Just an interesting side point, once we're speaking about ancient Jerusalem, I want to point out, we showed earlier the walls around Jerusalem, and we mentioned that they weren't built till the 16th century. However, there are remnants of the original Jerusalem wall, which can be found in the Old City as well. And here you're seeing remnants of the ancient wall from biblical times. So yes, this is the ancient wall. Obviously, it's not the complete wall. It's only part of the wall. But it's pretty much in the middle of the current ancient city. You'll see this set of walls. We also spoke a little bit about Jewish prayer, and I'm sure in the video you may have noticed these black boxes that the men were wearing on their heads. These are called, in English, they're called phylacteries. In Hebrew, we call them tefillin. The tefillin, within those boxes, there are scrolls, small scrolls with various chapters of the Bible, where it speaks specifically about putting them as a sign in between your eyes, as well as tying a sign on your hand. And that's why they tie the tefillin on the hand and they place it on the head between the eyes. This particular stand here, many Jewish people don't do this every day because, well, we're meant to do this every day in the morning prayer, but of course not every Jew is fully observant, and so many Jews don't do this every day, and many Jews don't even own a pair. And so at the Kotel, you have this stand by the Chabad movement that will help people who don't have tefillin of their own. They come to the Kotel, they don't have tefillin of their own, and this particular stand will offer people the chance to put on tefillin. Many people put on tefillin at this stand for their first time in their entire life. I do also want, before we end off, I want to mention something important. The Kotel, as we mentioned, that we see today is only a small portion of the actual Kotel. The Kotel is much longer, so it goes much further down. Many homes were built straight into the wall, using the Kotel as a foundation wall. They would build the houses into the wall. And so there's many more, many of the houses that you see from the Kotel are actually part of they're part of the Kotel. They're being built out of the Kotel. In order to see the vast magnitude of the Kotel, archaeologists dug a set of tunnels, and in these tunnels you can actually visit. You can go for a tour where you can see the full length of the wall. And you can also see how deep the wall goes and many beautiful archaeological finds that they found while digging these tunnels. It's called the Kotel tunnels. People call it the tunnels because you're pretty much going down underground and experiencing the real magnitude of this wall. And again, it is huge. And if you come to Jerusalem, make sure you book a tour for the tunnel tours. I think it is extremely important to see how much they were actually able to build without modern technology. It is amazing. And before we go, I do want to remind you that if you like what you see, please do me one or more of three things. Number one, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. Once you hit the button, please click the bell that will appear. That will make sure that you will be notified every time I upload a new video. In addition, please hit the share button and share this with all your friends on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, whatever you have, any type of social media you have, please send it around so that more people can appreciate it. And third, if you really, really appreciate what I do, please consider becoming one of our Patreons by clicking the link in the description. There's a link to our Patreon. Patreon is where you give a small monthly contribution to our work, and this will enable us to produce better quality videos, more videos, and they impact hundreds and hopefully in the future thousands of lives as well. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you come back next time where we're going to give a bit of a speech on the and some videos of how Jews and Arabs get along in this area. Make sure you don't miss it. Have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye.